Welcome to December's edition of Bouncyrock Bi-Monthly Banter. This is our last for the year, obviously. And yeah, it's been a pretty exciting year of stuff all through the. I mean, we've been doing these now for this is our sixth one. So this makes a year of doing them, which is awesome. And we'll get right into it with all of our updates and news and everything else. So I'll kick it off to Johnny to start.
Yeah, yeah. Hello, everyone. And yeah, as Panda said, this is the last one of 2024, and we are somewhat back to doing some features, which is really exciting. So I'll be talking a little bit about like the pinging system that I mentioned in one of the devlogs, and Chris will be showing off some stuff as well. And then there's a little bit of art to talk about, and then that's sort of what we have before we start going over to questions. Um, so without further ado, I think I'm just going to go and just show where the ping system is at because it's close to being finished. Now, there isn't like a ton of stuff to show that. It wasn't really in the screenshot, it's just been refined. And there's been some shader changes that's been happening. And also I added the UI so that when people start to ping here now, then they show up, hopefully, as circles around here, and then you can go straight to that ping. You can also like see them a little bit through the walls here, which is nice. So as I was showing in the devlog, you can use this marker to sort of indicate, and that one shows up on the other side. I have two clients running at the moment, so I can sort of show a little bit. Here's a different color showing from the other player. And then you can leave pings around and they get icons if you move out, and you can click on them to go to them, which seems to work pretty well. And you can also indicate directly onto a creature, which also moves with the creature in case someone is moving it as after a ping has been placed. The reason why I've been working on this a little bit extra is because it took a while to figure out like how this is supposed to feel, as well as like how long a ping was going to last. So I did a lot of trickery where the icons would last for like 5 seconds, and if you clicked on the icon, it would spawn like one of these sort of graphics when you get there, and that would run for 3 seconds and stuff like that. But it became way too complicated. So now just everything runs for 5 seconds basically, even if it's like in a UI icon or if it's one of these things. So yeah, that's where that's at. There's also how to change colors. I've been working on getting colors that they won't necessarily look like this, but getting the color indication onto the client portraits up here, and that's likely going to be where you're also currently going to change the color of your player ping, so people can choose between a palette of ping colors basically. So I'm up here, and you'll be able to see what the color of other clients are as well. So that's how that's going to work. For the first release of this, I might not get the other thing I talked about in the devlog, which is the intent, where you can right click and send a GM request. So that would be like a feature that would come out after that, basically. So the idea there is to be able to right click on an area and say that, oh, I want to look at this, or I want to talk to this person, or maybe use this thing over here, so that you get like a GM request similar to when you attack. Because if you go into player here, let's see, there's a character we have over there. And if I don't actually have any other characters around, so let's go back into GM mode and let's place a thing. Let's see. Okay, let's go here actually. Let's place this guy. And because we have the attack. Let's do an attack, and then you get this thing, and on the GM side that looks like this. And what I want is for you to be able to set up more arbitrary things of wanting to do, so that in a situation that a lot of players are trying to do a lot of things, maybe there's a lot of narration going on, and then one player might not be able to get the word and to want to do something before jumping down a hole, then you can at least indicate to the game masters here that you want to be doing something in the space. And then, so that's the other part of the feature that is going to be split up, I think, into two separate like features, just to get the pinging out sooner rather than later. So yeah, that is pings.
Super cool. Looking great, man.
Yes. And just to confirm, the kind of laser pointery ping thing, that's like players can do that too, right?
Yes, both
Nice.
the leaving pings and also the marker. It's something that both GMs and players can do.
Sick.
Mm.
Yeah, neat.
That's fun. It looks fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that having been shown, Chris, do you want to?
Yeah,
go
sure.
next?
Kick over to me. Yes, this is a little bit of a surprise thing, I guess. So one of the things that we've had for a long time is we've had this kind of situation. So you're a GM, you've got some players, and they in player mode, you've set them up this lovely maze, but it's a bit thwarted by the fact that they can see everything just by zooming out. And we've been saying forever that obviously that Fog of War is going to be the thing that handles this, and we're still not like ready to implement Fog of War fully. We've got more of a design, as mentioned before, but we just haven't. We've been working on other things, so it's been pushed down the stack. But that's not satisfying. Like, it's really annoying to come to you each time and say, "Hey, we haven't done Fog of War yet," and not have something as a kind of stopgap. So what would be nice is if, as a GM, you could open up, say, campaign and board settings, switch from default to party view mode, and then go on to something like this and choose how far something could see. And let's say there are multiple characters in a party. And then for your players, they would see something like this. So then they're only able to see in that range around them. And suddenly exploring dungeons, even though you can see through walls a bit, and so it's not proper like line of sight based Fog of War, which is really what we want to get to, because we don't want ultimately anything that kind of spoils secrets and things like that isn't ideal. But this already gives something that we didn't have before, and allows a kind of play that's been difficult inside Tailspire. Also, let's just bring this down a second, so a little easier to see our chap in the maze here. As you would probably want, range is per morphs. So our dog here has much greater senses than its master. So as you switch between, you can see they both have their own ranges, and I can bring them back over here. As the GM, you're going to want to be able to see what your players can see, or at least be able to get a view. And you've got a couple of ways of doing that. Of course, you can always switch to player view to see what they're seeing, but you can also just hover over things. It's a little hard to see, so that's something I have to work on. 1 second. Oh yeah, it's because the UI is open up here. Let's do a thing. If I switch this morph back to, nope, not make new yeek. I am clicking all the things. Where we go? Morphs guy. There we go. If I hover over, you can see everything that they can't see is grayed out. Yeah, something like this. And yes, that's a couple of tools that you have for kind of thing. When we get to Fog of War, the idea is that we wouldn't have a dozen different vision systems. So hopefully what would happen is Fog of War is so good that it subsumes this system entirely, and this just goes away because the other one is strictly superior. And we just make sure that we cover all those bases in a way that's good. There's put a bunch of effort into trying to make this fast enough. So the range can be up to 500 units per morph. If you're using kind of classic system where it's 5 foot per unit, that's like 2.5 kilometers. And that might not be what your elf can see on a clear day on the top of a hill. But for kind of context, oh yeah, there you can see a bit of the, let's zoom out. You can see some of the kind of graying out nicely. If I go to the range, this is 40 units, and you're already that far. So, 57 there. So you can imagine what 500 looks like. It's pretty much everything. So yeah, we're trying to keep this nice and speedy. Obviously, for your players, any kind of chunk of the world that's not visible, we can cull out. So there might be some performance things. It's not linear performance gains, but there should be something. I haven't tested that yet, because I've still got some work to do. But yeah, really hoping this I'd like to get this to you into beta around Christmas, so you can test it out, and then in the new year we can like wrap this guy up and ship it. I'm kind of really excited to finally have something for you to be able to do kind of strict dungeon crawling kind of stuff in a better way than we've offered so far. Yeah, love to hear what you think about this stuff. So yeah, that's my little demo.
Perfect. No, it's really exciting to see, see
Yeah.
this come together, and it's also just really nice, a really nice effect when you're moving around and things like dropping in. It's just thinking about where we were really early Tailspire, and like having that, like things just like thinking smaller at that point and having things reveal and sort of getting some of that back is actually sort of
Yep.
exciting. So that's really cool. Yeah, well done, dude.
Yeah,
And,
very well done. Super cool. It's just really, it's and seeing it up on like the cliffside there with like all that space and seeing it vertically, horizontally at work is super cool, man.
Yeah, it's really fun when you get this. You can actually kind of see the sphere just in the terrain.
Yeah, exactly.
always wanted to put
That looks cool. I like it.
Neat.
fantastic. Jason, you want to talk a little bit about art? Now, first, I should probably actually say that you did post a screenshot that we're going to share. I'm not sure if you have a good way of doing that right now, Panda.
I say
Yeah.
if you can pull it up, that'd be.
I can try. Let's see.
Yeah, if not, that's fine. I can share it with you guys like on the Discord or something like that. I can just put it in media. But in between, so I've been working on, as some of you know, Kickstarter backer rewards, and that's like a back and forth process where it's just like help us design a mini, help us design an adventure pack being like a tile set, a couple of monsters, a couple of like heroes, some props, etc. So while I've been working on that stuff, in between feedback, because it's the holidays and we always like to do something in the holidays, I just we had the idea to make like just some toys to be elves and make some toys, props, like like a teddy bear sled, a bunch of like just like yeah, there you go, perfect. So that's kind of like what we've been working on, Rach and I. So we have what you see in this screenshot right here, and then thanks to Astari, I was talking to him this morning, and he suggested some Christmas lights. So I'm going to be working on that before we release this pack. It's a small pack, but it's something, and it should kind of like help fill in some of it. Just props, man. You can never have enough. So these are just more props. But the little lights will be, I think I'm going to do a horizontal string, a vertical string, and then a kind of sloped string. So, we'll have those, and they're going to be like larger bulbs. So they could potentially have either magic or like a little lamp in them or something like that. So we'll put those in the in the fantasy pack. In the future, right before the stream, it was funny, like Johnny and Chris were talking about shaders or whatever like that, and like joking about colored lights flashing off and on and things like that. That would be cool to have in the future. So maybe sometime later. But yeah, for now, just look for like this and some white light props in the very near future, probably like next week.
Sick.
That's fantastic. I think this is going to be a really fun pack. And then we'll talk more next year or the next year about like what's coming next as far as like assets are concerned.
Yeah.
We are as a actually, is there anything else you want to say on art or?
No. Like I said, I'm working on Kickstarter backer stuff, and like that's going to include again 2 tile sets, and a bunch of minis and some props and things like that. So look for those after this pack. I'm going to be focused on that stuff. So those are probably going to be like the next packs that you see.
That's fantastic. Excellent. Yeah, so another thing I'd like to mention just before we start the questions, just as I remember them, is that yeah, Bouncyrock is just going to take some time off between the 18th and the 2nd of January. So the 18th of December to the 2nd of January is like going to be more a Christmas vacation type of thing. And so we're going to be a little bit less responsive during that period of time. There might still be some activity, but yeah, no guarantees there. So I think I mentioned that before we move into questions, in case I forget to mention it at the end. We'll also put a post out and stuff like that when the date approaches. So yeah, I think that's it for us. What's new? And we could probably just move on to questions, I think.
Okay. We'll go ahead and get started on that then. So our first question comes from Tinnabee, who asks, would it be possible to get some tiles set with alternate colors, like the tavern set, but with the roof tiles being blue or green instead of red?
Yeah, so this is something like I've been going back and forth on, is whether or not that's something we want to do. And it is, I've been leaning, like personally, I've been leaning more towards, yeah, it would be fun to be able to have a system for like switching out, or at least sort of having different, because it's essentially having multiple color textures, because we could obviously go with more skinning and doing different sort of roughness and stuff like that. But in essence, it's mainly about just changing colors. So this is sort of going into the territory of tinting tiles, but I don't look at it like that. So it's more like having variants. And I'm not going to say that, yes, we're definitely doing that, but I'm definitely warming up to the idea of having more color variants.
Yeah. Even taking the, I know it's kind of like cheap, but like even just taking the existing tavern roof set and literally just making more assets, just different colored, different colored like tiles, you know.
Yeah, it would be nice to keep the like organize the library in such a way that it doesn't take up as much space.
Right.
But yeah, it's, as I mentioned, definitely warming up to that idea. Is what I would say there.
Grimbeard Adventures asks, are there plans to add the new library tiles as props? Apparently, people really like those bookcases.
Yeah, the bookcases. Like, not initially, no. Well, I guess. I mean, it's not. So it is built to be tiles, but like, are we talking about just all of the shelves, just one of the shelves? Are we talking about more books?
I'm thinking everything, just making them,
everything.
making them props.
I mean, maybe you could do like one of the shelves, for instance, one of the regular shelves.
Oh, like one of the empty shells.
Yeah, with books in them as well. But
oh, okay.
Having that be a thing that we can make into
gotcha
props. Like sometime next year, we should start to try to nail down the data format for props and tiles and stuff like that, and we'll see how that changes how we think about props and tiles. But that's I know that sounds very vague, and it's also me just thinking out loud. So yeah, I don't want to. Yeah. So maybe put in like a request for it. I think that's probably the best thing to do.
Okay. Our next question comes from JA07SJ and asks, will old tiles like Timpwater, Foam, the big green one, and wonky ones like the 1x1 Morgoth pillar be replaced for Tailspire's launch? And if so, what's the fallback plan for maps/boards that already use them?
Yeah, we're never going to remove things fully. The thing that we've been doing when tiles and stuff become basically deprecated is that we've been deprecating it, which means that they still exist in the game. It's just that we don't show them in the library. so we don't encourage people to continue using them, basically. So that's what would happen with tiles that are considered temporary.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they would still, all of the old maps would still work. Technically, people could still copy the assets, but they wouldn't show up in the library. That's the plan.
Tav RPG asks, "Hello, what do I need to actively collaborate with you? My channel is fully dedicated to D&D and has over 75,000 subscribers. Are you currently open to long-term collaborations?"
So far, we haven't been doing a lot of that, but yes, send an email to Panda and get talking.
I believe I do have an email from you, Tav RPG. The last week has been hectic for my day job, so I haven't had much brain power to respond, but I do see it and it is on my list.
Fantastic.
Not Blix asks, "Is there any plan to allow support for things like texture packs?"
So that's like reskinning existing assets. Is that the
I
idea
assume
there?
it's
I don't think so. Any
Yeah, I
thoughts?
can probably handle that one a little.
Yeah.
So yeah, not specifically just like a thing that swaps out textures on other stuff. Being able to ship kind of assets and things like this, absolutely. So that'd probably be the way of doing it. I'm not sure. So technically, our formats do allow referencing things in other packs. To what extent we can do that is interesting. But it would be one of those things that you would set assets up in Tailweaver with your particular skins and then ship those as like dedicated assets. And whether they're sharing resources with something else is kind of behind the scenes. Yeah, good question. Something to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Dylan the Cripple asks, "Can we have the ability to turn a group of props into a miniature / can we turn a mini into a prop?"
Or we have talked about the kind of something, because we've got the kind of plan to do subboards where you can take large sections like a castle and stuff like this and make it into one big piece that still works like a normal board, so you can walk around on it but move it with everything on it. But we have talked about some smaller kind of agglomeration of things that we don't have a strict name for yet. So yeah, no hard decisions on that, but it has occurred to us.
RWL is how I'm going to just say your name there. Sorry about that one. Any news on importing custom tile sets?
I can take that as well if you like, Johnny.
Sure, go for it.
Yeah, so that's the short answer is no. But yeah, it is still in the works, still in the plan. I will probably like next year when we kind of get to that section. I've got a bunch of work to do on versioning adding versioning into the mod. My brain is super at the moment. Each of the assets has an address that can reference things kind of anywhere. So whether it just be a thing on a website or in one of the mod repositories and things like this, including like custom user repositories, and the need to support versioning in that before we can do tiles, because it's a lot more critical to make sure that everyone's running on the same version of a tile than on the same version of a creature. So yes, when that's done, then we can look at tile sets. Probably ship first without scripting and then bring in scripting later. But yeah, there's a roadmap for it.
Okay. Monophos asks, "Will there be filter options for community creature search to be specific or emit results like sci-fi, steampunk, fantasy, AI generated, etc.?"
Yes.
Simple enough. Infamous Tricks asks, "Will there be a way to make it where you can take on a first-person POV of the character you were selecting, being able to switch from a tabletop mode to a first-person POV?"
We've had this question a few times before. We've generally just said that, but that's not something we're doing. But it's a feature request, though. I mean, if it gets high enough, then yeah.
Argonaut Captain says, "I found that the current method of adding players and NPCs to initiative order in turn-based mode is very clunky. Having to find every character token to click, it is difficult, and if you press tab to show names, it bugs out and doesn't let you click the tokens anymore. Are there any plans to update the turn-based initiative system in the near future?
It's definitely on the list of things that we're planning on doing. It's also something that I've already starting doing like a proper like design document on, but we haven't like started it in like, oh yeah, we're definitely doing this in the near future. The bug though sounds like something that we should be addressing, and yeah.
Yeah, if there isn't a report for that already, I'd love to see one for that, because that's a very tackleable problem.
Yeah, it sounds like it's something that we could handle pretty quickly if we put it on. Yeah, if we're aware of it.
Okay. RWL comes back and asks, have you given any considerations to world maps? Being able to divide a map into regions, for example, maybe some extra camera settings and such. This would be far off into the future, of course.
World maps is something that we've talked about since the inception of the idea of Tailspire. As far as like whether or not we'll be ending up doing it, I can't remember what we decided on there, but it's definitely far into the future, as I mentioned. But it would be incredibly cool to do some type of like world map, even if it's like if it's a separate type of thing, or if we find out a way to sort of like integrate it into what people are building, or whatever that would look like. It would be fun to do. But yeah, that would be far into the future, if at all.
Not Blix asks, will we ever be allowed to look up with the camera?
In photo mode, you can do that. There's unlikely. Yeah, I don't think it would happen. I would have to see like a really good case for it, I think. Yeah.
If I remember rightly, the camera control code was somewhat modularized, so that the unofficial hackers could reach in there and make their own kind of camera modes. They could even steal code from the camera, the screenshot tool as well, if they wanted to. But yeah, not something we're planning on doing.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, because I made it that way, so almost assuming that they would. So I'm surprised that it hasn't happened yet.
Our next question comes from our very own Baggers asks, will the intent be visible to the players too?
Oh,
I did want to drop.
Nice.
Yes. Yes.
Cool.
Oh, well, okay. Actually, that's a good question.
So it's like, yeah, if you.
Yeah, now I understood what you were asking. That actually initially I wasn't thinking that to be the case.
Yeah.
And I think thinking about it a little bit further, I think no. Because it might be like it might sort of breach a little bit what people are trying to achieve to do, whether or not they want to share that with other players.
Like if I'm trying to pickpocket my buddy, for instance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Unless you could whisper it, kind of like a whisper GM request kind of
Yeah,
thing.
that's
but it has some implications on attack as well, because right now we have the bubble over the asker. Like, well, only you see that though, don't you? You don't.
Yeah, I don't think other people see that, but now I am unsure. But my initial thing was like it was between the player and the game master. So that's a thing that maybe we need some input on. To be fair,
it's safe to say not V1 though.
Yes, that's safe to say.
Cool.
Okay. Monofos asks, would there ever be a feature to copying one of my maps without having published my map for the world to see until I'm done? Self-conscious about my work, and I like different versions of large maps, and there are limits to area selection.
You should be able to. Does the I thought we had publishing, but with you could turn off it being public.
So I believe there could just be a simple misunderstanding, because
broadcasting
publish map does not actually publish it. It simply gives you a link to the copy of the map, in which case you then have to share that for it to be public. so to speak.
Yeah.
So
But even beyond that, I think there's a thing we can toggle that like means that like if you gave that link to someone, they couldn't use it unless it's been unless it's broadcast.
yeah,
It's a good
so you
question.
can actually use the current publication feature to do this.
Yeah, I think it was this one. If my screen is viewable,
I can make it. I can make it so.
If this is not working, that's a bug. Then yeah, you should be able to get your own ones even with these turned off. But yeah, there's definitely a use case for that, right? While I remember currently when you copy and something is too big, we do a terrible job at letting you know about that. That is crap, and we need to fix that. I need to fix that. So yeah, expect that in the future. A thing I'm thinking about now really is that it might be nice just to have a copy history that's like just stored for your session, so that if you do go to another board and it was the wrong size, at least you have a local. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. No, that's some other problem. I'll have to look into it. But yeah, I could definitely do better with the communication. There are reasons why some limitations are there.
All right. JA07SJ asks, early on in Tailspire's early access period, we moved from Chimera build to Dragon build. Are there any upcoming plans for a new named version released? Ifrit? Int? And will that fundamentally change how building works, the way the last big update did?
Oh shoot. Yeah, we haven't talked about any like iterations on naming. I think once the early access sort of came out, we stopped doing that. Although there are iterations going to happen on the building side, it's not going to be such a big leap as we saw from the alpha to the beta to the early access, basically. But yeah, there's going to be another pass on the building tools. I'm not entirely sure when it's going to happen. Maybe we have to come up with like a cool name for the next sort of.
A cool name and a new mini.
Yeah, the new mini. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for
some
the
other shadow.
menu.
Yeah, some other shadow in the.
Yeah, exactly.
In the menu. That's great. Yeah.
Okay. Roskadin87 asks, do you plan to introduce new attack animations for the miniatures?
There are plans for doing that. It's not like a high priority right now, but yeah, there's something we want to do.
Brock's crew asks, will the Kickstarter stuff, minis, props, etc., be for all users of Tailspire, or more so for the backer individually, personally only?
Nope, they'll be available for everyone. In fact, yeah, we already released a pack a while ago with props and minis, and yeah, they're in the library. So, and it's going to be hard to tell because we don't really like label them as such, but yeah, everybody will have access to these things for sure.
There is this when we get to the custom dice stuff, there is the custom dice is for the people who back that level. But as far as like all of the creatures, all of the the stuff that Jason talks about, it's for everyone.
Okay. Infamous Tricks asks, are there any plans to add light sources that aren't tied to objects so that objects don't need to be hidden?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so it's lighting in Tailspire currently has a lot of issues associated with them. It is still something we'd like to do. I know I've been postponing a lot of that stuff because of some limitations in the standard rendering in Unity that I'd like to sort of not have appear. So I've been sort of trying to limit the size of lights, especially. But I think it is still something that we want to do and should be doing. I just don't know when still. But I might just have to fold and get it in earlier than us having my ideal rendering situation, basically, just because of the utility of being able to do something like that. So yeah.
Okay. Zeppaville asks, are there plans to add auras to minis?
So auras to minis would be either like putting a aerial effect, or is it sort of more of a like a status effect, I wonder, or is it both? Because both is something that we're planning on doing.
Okay. I assume
So
they're
yeah,
talking kind of
follow.
sort of things that follow the character around, highlighting a
Yeah,
radius.
yeah, we've been talking about doing something like either attaching rulers or something similar to that onto characters so that we follow them around, and also the status effects that gives uh, creatures like different effects. It's also still being worked on. Um, so it is planned.
Okay.
Mhm.
Brock's crew asks, also have to ask, any updates / progress in terms of weather effects or anything related to those? Keep up the good work and hope you all have a lovely holiday later this month.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And yeah, no, there hasn't been any news on the weather system other than the fact that I keep seeing it on top of the feedback, the request, and every time I see it, it's like, yeah, I wonder if we did just do it, and then I remember why we don't. Um, but it would be cool. But I don't have any news on it, unfortunately, which I know is a little bit of a broken record when it comes to that stuff. But it's yeah, looking forward to doing it sometime in the future.
Shall I? I can expand a little bit on the because the last two questions kind of tie together in that way, don't they?
Yeah,
If you like.
sure. Go
So
for it.
yeah, one of the things we're kind of weighing up is that later versions of Unity, Unity for the last few years has kind of been a mess. They've been trying to introduce this whole new technology stack, and they've done a really kind of it's not been introduced, like it hasn't been integrated in the way that a lot of stuff in Unity used to be done, and so it's very unfriendly, and we've kind of had to. It's never been stable enough for us to use for a long time, so we had to bodge things together out of what were there. But some of the new stuff is starting to it looks like it's going in a good direction and is starting to settle, and it's making us very interested in moving to that. The issue with that is it completely breaks how they fixed something I've been abusing to make Tailspire work. So I would have to rewrite a whole bunch of stuff, but it would mean we wouldn't have to write our own particle system. But so we're kind of having to weigh up what's the worst out of the two things. Do we build our own systems on top of the things we've got, or do we take the hit where we're going to be put out of action on features for I don't know, months and months while we rewrite all this stuff in this whole new system. It's a bit of a toss up, and that's kind of that's one I think we're still kind of circling around, working out what's the way to go. And it's going to take some experimentation as well, actually just getting some new things, getting some things put into a new project and seeing what it's like. But yeah, we're agonizing over it.
Yeah, there's yeah, to elaborate a little bit on that, it's like there's a lot of stuff we could get for free visually if we were to move. However, there are also some really big features that don't rely on that, which we definitely should be building first
And
before.
it's we could get for free, assuming it does what it says on the tin this time, which we've been here for how many years now. It's oh
Yeah, that's true. So
yeah,
that's why some of the experimentations has to be done to see whether or not we would actually get those things for free,
yeah.
or if it's yeah, if it's a little bit of a red herring for us.
Okay. Our next question is from RWL again, who asks, are card decks somewhere in the future, like wound/crit decks, event decks, that kind of stuff? Or would such things be relegated to mods?
Like personally, I've always wanted to avoid card decks, and I think that's at least my answer on it.
Mods for now.
So mods, yeah.
mods for now. Symbiotes would be a good place for those.
True.
Roll Maville asks, "Hi guys, nice to see the whole team. Any news in the future in the new features for the API symbiotes update?"
I first we want to shout out the rest of the team.
Yeah, for sure.
And so this is not the whole team, and also beyond that, like big shout out to the mods as usual who've been keeping everything running.
Yes.
Especially, I mean, personally, I'm feeling that very much as I haven't been able to be as kind of like public facing for a while, and that's going to be for a bit longer. But yeah, aside from that, new features for symbiote stuff. Oh, you've put me on the spot. Yes, we are thinking about things. I think Chairmander would be the one with the best overview on that right now. I know that like I'm gonna have to do some updates for supporting the new blueprints that come with the new range information and a whole bunch of other stuff. Yeah, we've got things we want to do there, but unfortunately my brain's on a blank as regards to specifics right now. So yeah.
Yeah, I think
let you know.
maybe try asking that in the Discord channel, and see, because I know Chairman has a good overview of that stuff, and I know that he's also been keen to do some things in Symbiotes. So it is a conversation that's been like we've had, or sort of been ongoing. But yeah, specifics. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's cool.
Caustic Therapy says 2 things: more Samurai Ninja Geisha for the Japan setting, please, and any chance for cars for a Mad Maxi type setting or post-apocalyptic contemporary city setting.
Mad Max cars will be so cool.
Yeah, actually, that would be awesome.
Any thoughts, Jason?
Yeah, man. So yeah, okay. So the Samurai Ninja Geisha for sure. I'm wondering, like, see, there's like this. I again get back to this thing where I'm trying to balance like whether or not like that work could be better placed in once the character creator is starting to get up and running. You can make all kinds of ninja, samurai, and geisha. If we just put the assets in there for you to have them temporarily. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, I got work lined up for a while, and the next thing after like the Kickstarter stuff I want to do, I'd really like to do a dwarven stronghold tile set, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. The Mad Maxi type like setting, yes, that is super cool. So I mean, yeah, man, asset requests, and especially for stuff like that. And if a lot of people want it, then that's going to dictate what we work on essentially. So,
We've definitely been looking a lot at the asset request board, and we've been picking out a lot of stuff there that's sort of aligned between like things we wanted to do and also what's been highly requested.
Yeah, for sure.
It doesn't solve your Mad Max needs entirely, but there was someone in the community who was building some really sick kind of desert vehicles and kind of there was some really like gnarly monorail thing. I just remember seeing some of these shots that were kind of desert based that looked so cool.
Oh, absolutely! Definitely check out the mods, man. Like
someone in the chat probably knows which creator it was that was doing that stuff. But so yeah, shout out. Oh,
I'm sure there are. There's been, I mean, it moves so fast, and there's so much being created. You might find luck there if you're looking for like to play in a setting like that.
Brother Hassan did those kind of some awesome mechs, seeing that JO7. But yeah, it could have him for the train stuff as well. God, that was cool.
Yeah, a lot of people think it might have been Brother Hanan making them.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right. JA07SJ asks, in terms of tagging in categories, will things still be divided into modern and fantasy categories for the foreseeable future? Some of the prop categories, particularly in the MISC section, are getting pretty big. A good thing, but it's a little difficult to search through to find exact items.
I'll jump in here because Chair's got a whole bunch of work done for search stuff. and the upgraded search would already be in if I hadn't gone on quite a rabbit hole, because we were doing search, and then it was like, oh, we need to optimize search. So we're looking at the types that we're going to represent, the tag data and things. And then it was like, oh yeah, like the tag names need to be local, like have localizations done, like translations and stuff, right? So we need to know what our localization strategy is going to be. Okay, so then we're researching all that kind of stuff, and then it was implementing that, and then it's like, okay, we need an actual upgrade to the settings system to be able to support this kind of stuff, and we need translation files and things. So both of those became projects. So there's a whole bunch of stuff, like tags for all the community mods, or like tags becoming available, search on those things. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of work done there that's been parked because we had to go on not wild goose chases, it's like things we had to do. But yeah, it'll be really nice to collapse that stack back down and actually ship some of the stuff. Finish implementing and shipping it would be really sick. So that should help with the organization a bit. But actually, to the categories, that's probably a better Johnny question in terms of.
Yeah, it feels like I mean the search will help tremendously, but it seems like we're also getting to the point where you need to maybe reevaluate how some of that stuff is organized, and that isn't a conversation that we've had, but it's I think it's a conversation that will be popping up probably after this stream now. That has been mentioned. So yeah, thanks for that.
Kind of going into the similar stuff, DSA Hawker asks, are there any plans or thoughts around better organizing community characters aside from the favorites bar? An available savable folder structure, perhaps.
Don't know off the top of my head. Oh wait, yeah, the community section in the library. Once you've actually added them, yes, we need to do it. We need to do a bunch more there. That is related to some of the tagging work. I can't remember it off the top of my head. Again, Chair would be the man with the knowledge. We know it's a limitation. We are going to get to it.
Lemurian Settler asks, might we see customizable categories soon, like palettes, so to say? Favorites and recently used features work for this in a pinch, but being able to gather tiles and props into a single accessible group would help a ton. So similar, but slightly different, as we're now talking tiles and props.
Stop looking at my notes. Lemurian, what are you up to? There are thoughts around that. They have to be taken further. But yeah, there's been, while we're doing the tagging, Chair and I've had a lot of chats that need to be kind of like brought into the team, and like just I still will chew over them and see what makes sense.
Zeppaville asks, do you think that minis will have a toggle to ignore physical barriers, like flying, but the ability to also move through props and walls? Mini TTRPGs have things like ghosts that can phase through walls, as an example.
Yeah, so I mean, currently the solution for that would be to use the teleportation, I suppose, but that doesn't give the player the ability to just do that at will. I don't think that's something that we've got planned, but it sounds like it's a good feature.
And the problem is we don't have a concept. There is no concept of what makes a floor. And that's so floors and walls and all those things. So if you have something that can go through anything, you pretty much have to turn on flying, because you'd go through everything. Yeah, it's an interesting one. It sounds really compelling, but if we put those limitations on to say, oh, this is a floor and this isn't a floor, there's styles of things that you folks do a lot, like bodging things out of all kinds of different assets that suddenly stop working. So yeah, that's a surprisingly tricky one.
It is. I mean, by using sort of some character controller techniques, you could probably like figure out sort of what intent is, especially when it comes like what's a floor and what's not. But still, yeah, it seems like it would be a lot of work, and I'm not entirely sure whether or not that's something that we would want to readily give to a player, or rather have the game masters of aid in those types of situations.
It seems the chat in general is kind of suggesting that when you toggle ghost, you also toggle fly. That they're
Oh, okay.
they have to be toggled together, so to speak, as a solve for falling through the floor.
Yeah, I mean that would make it a lot easier. I mean, make a feature request. We can talk about it if it becomes something that it seems like a lot of people want.
Okay. Jake Ikas asks, got in late, so ignore if this has been answered. Any word on terrain tools?
It hasn't been answered, and it is there's no news on it other than the fact that it's. I mentioned some big features that we need to do before we do consider doing like a Unity update to get some of the graphical features, and the terrain one is definitely one of those. So yeah, definitely would like to get started on it. We have a lot of. It's an ongoing talk about like cool stuff we could do with it, but we haven't had the opportunity to test out a lot of those concepts. So no news as of yet.
DSA Hawker asks, are there active efforts or plans around supporting more elaborate lighting features, able to add lights without having to rely on props, editable properties as a bonus? We kind
Yeah,
of dove into this a bit, but I
we
feel like
did
editable properties is new.
and as I mentioned then as well, I was hoping that we would be able to have some of those rendering features to be able to mitigate some of the issues that are with lights prior to that, but I might have to fold looking at the request boards and stuff like that, and just give people that power. Having properties would also probably make sense, but there are some lights in Tailspire that works differently. So ultimately, there might be something that Chris would have to chime in on as well. But it would be good to get it sometime.
Okay. Our next one comes from Genghis, who asks, any thought on the sub slabs? Reason I'm asking is a fantasy and modern animated lift would really show off TS's vertical aspect capabilities, make all the other VTTs green with envy, and be really handy for moving groups of minis to other levels.
Yeah, it's totally fair. Not new thoughts, other than like, man, I want to get to that. It's yeah, same old.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, it is a feature I'm really looking forward to, because it will be cool.
Yeah, the real stinker is when we like have to do it's the like there's the getting it working, and that's part way there, and then it's like, what does control for that look like? Because suddenly you're controlling things that are way bigger than we've ever had before.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's gonna be super interesting. And then just like moving between subboards, that needs to be seamless. And it's fascinating. There's a whole bunch of I won't go into that. Yeah, I've got a whole bunch of code that I need to. I've been lazy when I was implementing it the first time, and I have to go back and do it all right. Boo.
Zeppaville asks, could we have photo mode cameras for cinematic shots?
There are some limitations within that system now that makes it tricky, but ultimately was something I was hoping to update in the future so that we could have cooler cinematic shots. That system needs a bit of reworking, a lot of reworking. So we'll see whether or not that's an iterative change or if it's something that we take on in one go. It's not like on the immediate plan though.
DSA Hawker asks, curious if there are long-term plans for new and expanded songs/ambient audio.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to. It's something Chris and I. It's on the back burner, but we're excited to tackle, for sure. Yeah, it's fun to talk about. But right now, there's just, no form has taken place. So yeah, it'd be great to have something like what is it, Siren, something like that. I forget what it is.
Sirenscape.
Sirenscape.
Sirenscape, yeah,
Mhm.
something like our own little Sirenscape light inside of the game. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, overall, it would be awesome to have dynamic music, where you have a dial. That's kind of like what I see. And, we would create tracks. I think I went over this last time. I'm not sure. I'm going to start to ramble. But yeah, there are plans for sure. Someday, it's taken a backseat. But I will continue to create more music and ambient sounds that are just kind of like tracks essentially, instead of like dynamic, anything dynamic. So yeah.
This kind of plays into the same thing. Dylan the Cripple asks, is there a way to make the ambient music play tracks from a specific folder on your desktop? So basically wanting custom tracks.
Right.
The thing with that is syncing them, right? Otherwise, you're the only person hearing them. And yeah, there's we're not going to want to store like copyright stuff on our servers. So yeah, like if you're gonna broadcast, maybe there's ways we can help you broadcast that to your friends, but like the stuff you own, obviously. But yeah, that's it is a tricksy one. So yeah, we've talked about it, but there's some infrastructure that would need to be there.
Bam Squared asks, any thought on being able to draw paths for NPC minis to follow and make the world feel more alive?
I so want that. Yeah, I love it. Like little like a little string on a big pulley kind of thing, and you just kind of
like
winch it around.
Yes, goblins patrolling the parapets. Yes, please.
Yeah, so it's sort of like we've been talking like early on, talking about scripting and sort of even like a little bit later about like spaghetti and stuff like that. Having things move around would be incredibly cool. There is like an aspect of how time works, which we would have to figure out. Do we just like have them go at a random pace? Is there like a tick marker? How do the game master sort of control ticks? So there's some stuff to think about there as well. But it would be cool to have a more of an autonomous type of game world. It would be fun. I don't think it's going to happen.
Is super interesting.
Come in, sorry.
World scripting is super interesting.
Yeah, yes, it is, and it would be incredibly fun to do. I don't think it would be soon, if at all. Or
no, it's I definitely want to do it. It can't be soon because there's just so much on the kind of UI side as well, even beyond the scripting itself. Yeah, it's be cool.
Yeah, it's going to be cool to get like more scripting stuff available, and also like making that available for people. It's going to be fun.
Okay. Genghis asks, any plans to add sound effects to animated props, doors, etc.?
So this is something that so audio is interesting when it comes to like playing audio. Playing audio in general is really expensive. So we do, to be able to do something like that, we would have to have better recycling of audio, and also maybe clustering of audio, so that if you place a bunch of audio on the same source, it doesn't like blow out the eardrums. So there's some considerations to be had there. I've always wanted to be able to do that, but I'm not sure how viable it's going to be in the near future, because I would have to bug someone else to make it work.
Got some thoughts about that. That'd be cool.
Cool.
Okay. Roll Maville asks, when uploading a map to Tales Tavern / Tales Bazaar, the height markers that we have placed on the buildings are not copied. Can you add the option to publish a map exactly the same with everything in its markers?
Yeah. Yes, there are some things that when we copy boards are not included right now, which is annoying. So yeah, it was. Yeah, there were kind of reasons that weren't fantastic. So I need to look into that. We definitely want some UI because things like board notes and uniques and things like that aren't included. Well, when board notes come, the where they will be stored isn't included right now. I can't remember what else we put. Maybe it is the markers that are in that file. Yes, there's some data that isn't copied across, and I think people would want to choose whether that's included because some of those things feel like very related to that campaign being played rather than the thing for everyone to share. So yeah, it is being thought about. I have softened up to that, and I'm just gonna have to accept that copying more data. I was a lot of the backend stuff when I implemented it was very kind of implemented in a very kind of paranoid way about like I don't want to like suddenly explode data usage. But now we've got a real backend person on there who knows what he's doing and is like get me to calm down on a bunch of stuff. And it's like, oh no, we can handle this. It's fine.
Yeah, it would be cool to in the future to be able to share like entire campaigns and stuff like that.
That's going to be
when
part
we
of
have
that.
notes and notes and things, because I think that being able to create a proper fleshed out adventure and then being able to share it with people, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Okay. Romoville asks, I find it very necessary to be able to modify the height of the fog / water directly from the ambient blocks. It takes a long time and breaks the immersion to have those fog water levels adjusted every time we change scenes. The ambient blocks currently do not save the height of the water or the fog.
That's my fault. Sorry about that.
Yeah, as
Open
in,
it up as a bug ticket.
yeah, there's it's. I'll just leave it at that as well because I know I had some thoughts around that stuff and why it's like done a certain way, but now I can't remember exactly. So let's say that's possibly a bug.
Okay. Not Blix asks, any plans to add more projectile / particle effects like breath weapons or fireball?
Definitely plans. I think that's sort of the length of it because doing more effects and stuff like that is something we really want to do. It just keeps getting pushed because first of all, effects in general is incredibly time consuming to do, and I've been putting together a style guide for effects because it's like I'm very particular about how I want effects to be done in Tailspire, as far as like what part of it should be like toy-esque, what part of it should be like realism, and what scale it should be at, and also like how much can be like additional flair. And we don't have a ton of examples of that, but it makes I think as far as effects go, that they will put like create a unique sort of feel to how Tailspire looks. But as a result of that as well, I keep like pushing it for other features because, as I've mentioned, they are time consuming to do. But I would love to do a lot more.
Okay. JA07SJ asks, is there any way to block lighting that goes through tiles, like floors / closed doors? This seems like it would be a bit difficult task in terms of computation, but would also help the overall look of the game. Additionally, would a change like that alter the look of existing boards that might use lights hidden in floors for atmosphere?
As in, no, and yes. This is one of the reasons why I want to like move like rendering engines, as it were, or like over to the script rendering pipelines, because doing lights that don't go through walls is easier when you can do stuff like shadow caching. which is basically you render out a shadow for a light, and then unless something happens in the within that light, you don't re-render that cube map, which means that you can get a lot more light maps on screen without like tanking the performance. Doing that in the current standard rendering pipeline, because of how like where shadows happen, stuff like that, is incredibly tricky, and it's a lot easier to do in the later scriptable rendering pipelines. I'm not sure if it's impossible, but it's a really tricky thing to do. So that's the reason why we haven't done that part. And on the other hand, if we were to implement that and then like have it just work on everything, then yeah, we would change how existing boards would look. So then we would have to think about, okay, so do we just automatically apply this? I'm not sure what that would look like, because we don't really know what that feature would, even how it would be implemented. So it's something that I'm really passionate about doing, which is also the reason why lighting hasn't evolved much, and why we haven't been doing like individually placed lights that can be scaled and stuff like that, because it looks really bad when it goes through tiles. But placing a shadow, okay, making all of the lights a shadow caster would be insanely bad for performance, because of how shadows work in the Sunny. I'm just rambling now, sorry. But yes, I've been wanting to do that for a long time, but it's not easy, and I don't think we can do that before
We
switch.
just need to add global illumination.
Yeah,
Just
yeah. Exactly. I would make the multiplayer joke there, but we sort of already nailed that, I think. So.
As a follow-up, JOS7SJ says, somewhat related, would HDR rendering and ray tracing be anywhere in Tailspire's pipeline?
As far as like HDR, I haven't actually tested how that works, and whether or not it works, to be fair. When it comes to ray tracing, it's like not something we've been thinking about looking into. So
yeah, I'm really passionate about getting Tailspire to run on more machines, like especially lower end machines. We won't. I can safely say we're not going to go a full ray traced kind of approach. There are. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be using the new kind of ray tracing APIs specifically. Yeah, that's probably the shortest version of the answer to that. There are techniques that just it kind of implicitly use some kind of limited kind of ray tracing inside them, but that's not really what the question's about. So yeah.
Tretchbolt asks, I was wondering if there's any updates about New Sound songs. I remember hearing we were maybe going to get one in the last pack. Jason? You good?
Your question is pending. Please stand by.
Oh, I think it's been muted, actually.
Sorry about that. Yeah. As I was saying, shit. Yeah. There was supposed to be. So I have music, man. It's just that, like, yeah, it's coming. It's coming. More music will. I'm sorry about that. I've been having a lot of fun recently, but it's been like very metal. So I've been like, yeah, and like just pushing the envelope, I've been trying to, like, in my spare time, do like metal music and trying to recreate like the whole Black Album, Metallica Black Album, like production value and everything like that. Yeah, I found this new like fun toy, this SSL compressor I've been using, and things like that. So I have some stuff on the back burner, and yeah, there'll be some new stuff. Absolutely. Coming with one of the, and I'll throw in some stuff for the upcoming tile sets for the Kickstarter backer stuff, just like bonus things. So they'll, and one of them right now is like an Underdark, and I'm not entirely sure what the other one is. So yeah, there'll certainly be new sounds coming out for at least like that stuff. But yeah. All right.
I mean, your focus has been a bit elsewhere as far as like typically the Kickstarter backing and stuff like that. So it's
Yeah. And like I said, I mean, I have been working on music. It's just been stuff that's not really. I mean, there is metal songs inside of Tailspire. Maybe I'll just throw some of those in, but yeah, more like I really want to focus more on like longer ambient tracks. That yeah, because when we're playing this our team, sometimes I like the longer kind of like quieter ambient tracks. And there are some like experiments I want to like I want to do too with some of these tracks. Kind of like scooping the mids, and I think in like the 2000 range or something like that, because like the human voice, that's kind of where that sits in the frequency spectrum. And so, carving out a little space in there to see if like music behind you could turn it up a little louder but still hear your I don't know, just some things I want to do. So new songs, new sounds, and things like that would probably I'd probably experiment with those. And so I'm excited to kind of like try that stuff out. So yeah.
that sounds really cool.
It is.
Okay. Sushi Boat for One, which sounds amazing right now, says, hello. My players and I have run into issues with the character limit of the game text chat. It's difficult for players to roleplay via text or paste game rules into chat. How difficult would it be to expand the character limit of the in-game text chat? Thank you so much for your hard work. We love Tailspire.
Oh, bless you.
Thank you.
I want Sushi Boat for 5 for 1. Let's see. So yes, text chat is limited right now, and we do want to expand. I'm not really saying anything. Yeah, agreed. Like Johnny, maybe you have something more concrete to say on that. I thought I had more to say.
Yeah, no, that's fair. My mind is also not on text chat right now, in the sense of like I can't remember exactly what the limits are and what it's working, but it is something that needs another pass, and that we're planning on doing stuff in that area. If there are specific needs and features, then yeah, please put in a feature request, get people to upload it so that it's more visible. But yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, we'll have to look into what the actual limitations are, because now I can't even remember, unfortunately.
We definitely still want to be able to put things into chats to send them along with, like dice rolls and all this kind of stuff. Any like items in general, kind of expanding the fact that you can right click and drag like things from libraries right now into the bottom bar. That metaphor is going to be extended a whole bunch of places if it works like we expect it to. And so yeah, chat will be expanded a bit there to support those kind of things. Just a random thing, like the timing that text stays on screen right now is really mad. So that's getting fixed. I have a patch for that that's going to be going in, so that things like if you want to just like do a question mark or like basically emote using text, it'll stay on the screen for a little bit longer, and also the ones that are really long won't stay on for too long. Yeah.
Okay. Black Wolf Magic asks, hello to my favorite devs. Is there anything you can tell us about the teased Dark Carnival update? I might have some suggestions.
Oh boy. Did I tease that or something?
Yeah, we talked about that last banter.
God.
We talked about some someone was working on some carnival props and games.
Oh, that's right. No. Absolutely. That is true. Rach has been working on some cool stuff that would be kind of like park/carnival centric, and I'd like to add to that. So I'm yeah, sorry to say, right now I like my focus is on other things right now, trying to get that Kickstarter stuff out. After that, yeah, I mean, it's up in the air essentially. Personally, I'd like to work on like a dwarven tile set, but I mean, yeah, if it's something that's like the asset requests, like once I'm done with the Kickstarter stuff, I'll probably revisit the asset request stuff, and but the Dark Carnival stuff is going to happen. It will happen. There's just no news, like no news on it right now.
Yeah, I should also add to say that like Hannah is also coming back
Oh, that's right.
next year. At which point there's going to be another person to be able to handle like asset related things. So we'll see how we're able to split that up and split up that workload. So that's
Yeah, because
possible.
it's super fun. The Dark Carnival thing would be super fun to work on. 100%.
Yeah, don't let your suggestions get lost. Do get them into asset requests.
Yeah, we will look there a lot.
Yeah, the main reason why is because we have assets right now that could feed into a pack like that, but we don't have like any solid plans for a pack like that. But like that was just me getting excited as I want to do, and thinking about the future. So absolutely get that into asset requests anyways, just so we don't forget that like those assets are for and to be fed into like something that's larger like a Dark Carnival, because yeah man, it would be really neat to have that, and almost like something that could be expanded into like a Vistani kind of like a Vistani camp or something like that, from like Ravenloft, something like that, where we could have yeah, caravans and things. I don't know. Anyways,
Okay.
yeah, just get it up on asset request, because if I start thinking about this, I'm going to try to do it in my spare time.
Yeah, it'll do that too.
Okay. RLW says, dovetailing onto the Mad Max stuff from earlier, would Tailweaver also support stuff like cars, mounts, things other than humanoids?
I'm like
I
a
feel like
type
the
of
idea
cute.
would be tacking minis onto other minis, so to speak.
Right. Um,
I do have some memories on this kind of stuff. There's kind of an incomplete story there. So at one point we were going to handle group movement basically like with one big base. We were just going to put them all into one big base and move them together like that. But then Johnny went and made this kick-ass system where you could just drag things around. They just went around stuff, and that was really dope. So that became the group movement. I mentioned before that we were thinking about that kind of like grouping things together as a kind of like a mini or something mini-esque, but we don't support that kind of mini standing on minis thing and then having them parent and move around. And if you do allow that, then you have to deal with the fact that our users are, what's the polite way for saying lunatics? So then you'll have creatures upon creatures upon creatures, and suddenly they can move one thing and they'll move like 1,000 creatures in one go, and then you've got to synchronize that. So you have to be prepared for anything you make will be turned into some beautiful monstrosity. So I'm not sure that this is a really long way of saying I'm not sure how we would handle that. Subboards is cool because subboards is designed to handle that thing, but there's going to be a limit on the number of subboards that we can support in a single board, in the order of kind of like 100 maybe. I can't remember exactly if it was like the hundreds or 200s, not thousands. And so it could be good for a kind of like, if you have a car that needs to carry the people, that's great, but you wouldn't want to try and populate an entire city with cars made up subboards, is what I'm trying to get at. So I don't know. I feel like there's a hole in the story there, and I don't know what, if anything, our solution would be.
yeah. Well, it would probably have to be some limitations, right? Yeah, so we don't get like a 1,000 pyramid goblin with a trench coat type of situation. Yeah.
I will interject here real quick. RLW did actually clarify more in chat and said actually modeling them, cars with different roof add-ons, tires, that sort of stuff. which I believe would essentially fall into custom props and tiles.
Yeah, then in that case, yeah, cool.
Is that like an asset request then, or is it more in the sense of like the hero creator and stuff?
It's, I suppose it's like I'm hearing it as a, could you make the, like, Tailweaver is just so you can bring things in and package them up for Tailspire. So if you make them in some other app, like, so you use Blender or something to make your car and then bring it in, Tailweaver should let you package it up if it's in the right format and then ship it into Tailspire.
Perhaps they mean they're talking about the potential hero creator.
Yeah, if it's the hero
Oh.
creator, then there's like it's going to be like more of a humanoid type of situation, but built in such a way that we can at least like start looking into maybe more like multi-limbed and stuff like that. Haven't considered doing like prop like cars and stuff like that. It's so I doubt that's going to be a thing. But it would be cool to think about, like how would we make like a generic, like more of a generic, like couple things together editor that could make what we need. So keep it in mind. But I don't want to say that we're doing that for sure.
We still have a good handful of questions to get through, and our time is running short. So I'm going to go ahead and shut down the question bot here so that no more questions are going to be getting in. However, we will continue to finish off the queue. So our
Good.
next question comes from Black Wolf Magic, who asks, with slabs, is there a way to have an attributor listing automatically added to board reference table? So if we do collaborations, we don't have to manually tag everyone we remember.
Oh, interesting.
Probably not. So there's a couple of things we could do there. I could, because we have that we have the slab publishing tool, and with that we could add some things. Once something's put on a board, it's just tiles, which is both a feature because then you can just rip anything apart and like kind of remix it as you like, but it's also, for this, is a problem because it loses all that information of where it came from. It's just tiles. So I don't, if it's a kind of like, can I place a whole bunch of different things on a board and then select that and have all the authors remembered? No, unfortunately not. I don't have a way of doing that. It's That's a really interesting idea. It's a really interesting idea, and there's like, I'm trying to think of ways to solve that that won't take up a whole bunch of memory. You know what? Throw it in a feature request. Who knows? Like, I might have a brainwave one year, and we can do it. But because it is super cool. I'm just going to turn on the heater because it's getting a little nippy in here. If you start hearing humming, let me know. I'll turn it off.
Okay. Black Wolf Magic asks, more carpet tiles and decorative rugs? The floors are cold.
Yeah.
Feature requests?
Yeah, feature requests, but absolutely. Listen, I agree with you. We need more carpet tiles and decorative rugs. I was just building the other day, and I was like looking for like a decorative rug, or just looking for rugs in general. And I'm like, wow, we need rugs big time. We need more carpets and rugs for sure. Yes.
Okay. Tretchbolt asks, sorry if I missed this, but was there any news on the sequencer, scene automation, or animation tools to present narratives?
There has been no talk about the sequencer this time, and there is no news on the sequencer. It is though the way on like a branch, and it's another one of those things that like I have to get back to after I like made it back from this year off, basically. Yeah, like ping me about it on occasion. I know Estrada does, which is great. And I'm inspired to continue doing it. Because yeah, it's a fun project. It just it feels like a lot of the other stuff that's been on the feature request board. I started to feel more urgent to me, so I've just been trying to tackle some of those for now. But yeah, it's something I'll definitely be getting back to at some point.
Okay. Caustic Therapy asks, are you guys looking to expand on the current amount of snow tiles? Or would that be too much with roofs and floors to do?
Oh, I mean, I think there's a feature request for this. Not a feature, but an asset request for this. So yeah, thumbs up on those, and you might be able to make some more tiles. The idea was that a lot of that stuff would be covered in the future by the terrain system, but obviously that's getting pushed a lot, and making some more snow tiles might actually not be like a huge undertaking. So if we see that it's starting to get up there, and I think it might be, then it might be something that we have to consider doing. Sort of like with because I think I've seen requests for having more similar snow as we have the desert type of thing, which could be neat.
Yeah.
So maybe.
Okay. Roger4325 asks, thoughts on allowing people to subscribe to private mods in Mod.io? The ability to allow the community to test symbiotes and use private minis.
Yeah, I don't know to what extent Mod.io's API allows that. I remember there being some difficulty there. I don't.
I believe
Because I'm going to want to. Sorry.
I apologize. I remember one of the blockers being that you could do it, but they would have to have a Mod.io account, and I believe you didn't want that at first.
Okay, so there's a few things there, because subscribing in general, right? So I wanted to make sure that people could use and kind of subscribe, use, install, update mods without having to have an account. That was an important one. I've been wanting to go back and add, for those who have a Mod.io account, they're basically a way to subscribe to automatic updates and things like that. Basically, kind of like the bell on YouTube, something like this. So it actually just kind of pushes down to you. That is on the cards, but private stuff is different. There's some kind of limitation there that made it a problem, and I just can't remember what it is because I haven't looked at that code in quite a long time. So I think the answer is no, but it would be cool. And if the API allows that someday, sure.
So I guess the way to do that now would be to have to share like those mod.ts files, basically.
Yeah, you'd have to like share them outside of Mod.io, which is totally possible.
Still works.
Yeah, forgot about that. Nice one.
Brock's Crew asks, any plans on being able to change the color of the water from the slider? Either full color options or just set selections. Had a session where a dungeon the players were in got more and more filled with blood. Would have been nice at that moment to have the water be red instead of blue, etc.
But yeah, looking forward to doing like water types for the plane, doing stuff like lava and things like that. So yeah, it would be presets most likely, and it is something that's like something we're wanting to do. So we could call it planned. Just don't know when it would come to fruition. So if there's a feature request on it, then I'll put that one, and I'll be more inclined to sort of like see it and then be sure that it gets prioritized if there's enough people.
Okay. Genghis asks, any news on the vertical rotation?
No, as in no news, but yeah, it's been more documented, and it's something that I think maybe Chris and I can get together at some point and just have a play around with and see what we come up with. As well, we're planning on doing more like maybe some week-long hackathons coming new year. So looking forward to those, and that's
That'll be really fun.
probably
actually,
yeah, because so a good scope, something that could possibly be done within
Yeah.
a week of good sort of cooperation. And yeah, so yeah, maybe that could be something. Actually, that's great. So that's the news, I guess. We might get together and do something like that.
Okay. Kerosene9119 asks, is there any plan to allow Tailspire to export the in-game roles and synchronize them with other VTTs, Foundry, Roll20, etc.? This could be useful to play specific rule sets while the game is still under development.
So I would say, yeah, symbiotes. I think someone mentioned this as well. Like symbiotes would be a really good candidate for doing that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm not sure what kind of if the sandboxing there would be an impediment. Yeah, that would be really interesting. If there's features you need in symbiotes, make feature requests. Be really interested to hear what you'd like to be able to do, and then we can try and find the kind of general kind of community satisfying solutions for those.
Okay. And our last official question of the year is from Fraylin C, who asks, is there a plan for an orthographic/top-down view? Would be helpful to be able to screenshot and export map images for reference, planning, or art.
So in photo mode, you can already do a top-down
covered, man.
orthographic
Yeah.
view, and we don't have a way to like export shots there, but you can align the camera, set it at a specific height, and then yeah, screenshot basically and go out. We also mentioned earlier in the stream that the way the cameras work now is that like a modder could go in and do some stuff. That's also a thing that if you that's also something that's moddable if people want to try to play with an orthographic view. It's not something that we're doing, and it's not going to necessarily work great, but it is set up for people to be able to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's as long as a little bit of photo editing knowledge, we get you far with basically exporting larger maps that way.
There is talk about top-down for building as well.
Right.
I just saw that, and it made me wonder if like a small kind of sub camera kind of thing. So where basically where you're working, if there was a like a picture in picture kind of thing looking down, how
Sure.
horrific that would be.
Yeah. So building from that perspective is not great because you don't have a sense of actual depth.
Yeah.
Because that's something I was playing around with when we did the camera system, because then I could technically just apply that camera into like any situation. Yeah, tried playing around with that. The other problem with playing in that, it's like depth is an issue. If you're building, if you're playing, we don't have like a good way of indicating where edges are, so it could become confusing to people. It still looks cool, but what we concluded that time, I think I talked about this about the stream way back when we might actually shown some orthographic view stuff, was that the amount of work it would take to make that mode good is just way out of scope for what we want to do with it, for what we feel the value is, or at least what I feel the value is.
Yeah, just a quick word to Fraylin. Just hit F6, I think, and that brings you into photo mode, and then you can play around with the camera and stuff like that.
Fantastic.
All right. Well, unless there is any more, I'll go ahead and close this out for the year.
Yeah, I'd just like to at least once again shout out to the rest of the team it's been an amazing year, and the stuff the team has been able to do, especially under the circumstances of stuff, has been amazing, and I really appreciate every one of you guys. And
well, we're glad you're back, man.
Well, thank you. Also, big shout out to the mods as always.
Yes.
Thank you, mods.
Love you guys.
They make all interactions with the community so nice for us, and also shout out to all of our players and the community as a whole.
I know.
Really appreciate it that you guys take the time to do this stuff in Tailspire and play it in general. It's
And then come here and hang
Really
out with
heartwarming.
us. We love it.
yeah.
You know.
It's still one of the few large groups of people on the internet I actually like don't mind going into a forum with. So props on being really nice folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you all for joining us for the end of year wrap up for 2024. Hopefully, 2025 is just as awesome for our team. So we have another one of these in February. Will be the next one. And as a reminder, we will be having our company-wide kind of holiday time between the 18th of December to the 2nd of January. So don't expect to see much in the way of activeness in terms of new features or anything around then. But until then, it's been great hanging out. It's been great answering questions, and we'll see you all next time.
And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas,
Yeah.
everybody.
Merry Christmas.
See you, folks.
Cheers.